Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Spenno YouTube channel. Honestly, I'm laughing because we've just done about half hour's worth of chat and I wasn't recording. But I can't even show you that and laugh about it because I wasn't recording. But anyway, the reason we are here is this is the second time I've done this, and I'm going to be chatting internationally to Jesse from Frank's Jailhouse Pubshed. I can't even get my words out because I'm messing up so much, but it doesn't matter. So Frank's Jailhouse Pubshed, named after his dog, incidentally. So, but it's Jess from Frank's Jailhouse Pubshed, and here he is talking to us about dry January, and we're going to have a few non-alcoholic beers. Hey!
Hello, Spenno. You look so familiar to me.
Oh my God! It's like I've been talking to you for hours.
Yeah.
You see, can you see up in the top left-hand corner there? It says recording now. Can you see that? Or is
I
it just
see
me?
that. Yes. I think you're so familiar because we already recorded one episode.
I'll tell you what, like we could go straight on to EastEnders now because we was just so on it, weren't we? That half hour's worth of conversation. If the viewers could have seen that, it would have been banging.
So some references, like you just mentioned EastEnders, I don't know what that is. So there's some things that we may make references and we'll have to catch each other and explain it with, the geographic difference here. But
well, without offending anybody, because that's something that I really do not like doing. Don't worry about not knowing what EastEnders is. It's a soap opera here, and I used to be guilty of not guilty, but I used to watch it loads and loads and loads. And at Christmas, my daughter came around here at Christmas for Christmas Day, and she says, "Dad, we've got to watch EastEnders. 10 o'clock tonight, we've got to watch it because there's a murder on it and we've got to see it." So I had to sit through it. It was quite fun. So everybody in the UK will know what I'm talking about when I go all right, that's one of the characters. Anyway, Jess, welcome back. This isn't the first time we've met. We met previously, but we're here now actually recording this, talking about dry January. Now, I've had a period off the beer. I think it was about 3 days. The idea was that I put some weight on over Christmas, and I drank a lot of beer and doing all the beer reviews all the way from Oktoberfest, really, all the way up. And I wanted to just cut down a bit, but I didn't want to do the dry January. I think we need to support the pubs and the bottle shops and things and keep it going. But it's a good idea to cut down. But Jess, you've had no choice but to go alcohol free, haven't you? So explain to me again, as good as you did it last time.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, like you mentioned, it wasn't a choice. So I found out a couple months back that I have coincidentally found out. I was lucky to find out because the condition that I have, most people will walk around with this not knowing that they have it, because typically there's no real clear symptoms until it's too late and someone's experiencing liver cirrhosis. So it's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and the name itself is a little misleading because alcohol can be a compounding factor in it, but typically what it means is that the problem is you have an excess of fat buildup in your liver, and it can cause cirrhosis of your liver longer term. But alcohol can be a big contributing factor to that as well. But typically it's your diet, so excess consumption of sugar, carbs, processed foods, stuff that us in the West, we love, clearly, so it's something that, and for me, I've always had a really fast metabolism and never really gained any weight. So I ate like a horrid diet, and but I never saw any, real outward indication of that. So I didn't really gain any weight. And like I mentioned, I found out coincidentally through having some routine blood work done, and the doctor made a mistake to send me to an internist thinking that I had high iron, which wasn't the case, but coincidentally they found out about the liver.
A brilliant mistake then, really. It's a good job he made that mistake then.
Yes, and it's kind of a cautionary tale. So anybody listening, I mean, really, they estimate 25 to 30% of people in the UK, the US, and Canada are walking around with this not knowing it.
Wow.
And so, and that number's increasing. They're even seeing this in children now, but it's based on our increasingly poor diets and the things that we're eating with the processed foods and everything else. So, just really lucky to identify that before. And actually the good news is that you can reverse this. So it's not like, oh, well, if I already have it, I may as well just eat and drink whatever I want. But the positive is that you can reverse it once you have it by just following a really strict diet, throwing out the alcohol temporarily, and then afterward, just being a little bit more cautious and mindful once you do reverse it.
Well, isn't it amazing that, like you say, there's no outward showing of you gaining weight, but yet you're gaining weight within your liver, which is the worst place that you can get. I've sort of gained weight through December. I normally, when I go through Christmas, I'll always say, look, I'm not using Christmas as it took me a long while. One of these days, I'm going to get the picture of myself and put it up on here, because I'll go down the Tap and Barrel, I'll drink a load of beer, and they'll say to me, Spenno, I don't know where you put it. Where'd you put it? And like, you're so lucky because, you know, well, I'm not slim, but I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not skinny, so to speak.
Yep.
But they'll say, I don't know how you keep it. I was like, let me just tell you, I'm a fat guy working on myself. You know, I used to be 15 stone, and you know, I'm not naturally slim. I'm not. I eat, and I put weight on easy. Whereas, say, when you had a fast, you were saying you was eating, but you wasn't putting weight on. But my weight is going outwards visibly. Yours is going inwards. So it's you just never know where it's going to go. But yeah. So the reason I sort of like I lost my trail of thought there. But for me, I just thought I'm going to cut down on the alcohol. Oh yeah, over Christmas I don't normally go mad over Christmas, but this Christmas I did. I went mad. You know, I was having a lot of Christmas cake, and we were having you know, puddings and just lots of chocolate and things that I don't normally do, and inevitably you put on weight. So I wanted to cut down the beer to stop me then craving them treats and carbs and things like that.
It all goes so well together, right? Like when I think about, so for me, having to change my diet and everything, I actually don't really crave necessarily miss the beer as much. For me, the beer is more of like, you know, if I'm going for, and we had talked about this earlier, so where we're located here, Port Dalhousie, we're about 15 minutes away from the U.S. border. We like to go across the border to the U.S. for chicken wings and pizza, and that's when having a beer is just so good, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, okay, and then you have a beer and you want to eat more chicken wings and pizza, right? So it's just...
I have, like, so my stepson, when he comes back from university, we always get him like snacks in, treats in. He plays tennis all the while. He's very active, and he eats loads of chocolate and crisp and energy bars and all sorts of things. And the cupboard's always stuffed full of them. Now I could be down here and I've done like a beer review or something, and I've had a couple more beers. And Janie's been watching some of like the telly that, you know, these sort of, I can't think, you know, Dancing on Ice. I don't know whether you get that, or all the UK sort of like reality shows and things. Well, I'll come down here for an hour or two, but then like sometimes it becomes maybe 3 hours, and I'll go up to the house a bit worse for wear. And this is the Spenno I'm not in control of, and he just eats all of Matthew's snacks, and that's when it becomes a problem for me. So what I used to do, I used to have a tin of beans. So like I'd get rid of everything out of the house, and then I just have a tin of beans waiting for me. So when I go up all a bit drunk, I've got that sugar rush tin of baked beans. It's absolutely terrible, but there you go. So I have to hide all them carbs and all that sort of stuff that we crave when we've had a beer.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, talking of beer, because last time when we were talking and I wasn't recording, we didn't actually crack open a alcohol-free beer, did we?
No, so, and I think that you're getting a little thirsty there.
I am. I'm salivated, because the thing is, I did dry January. I don't know whether you watched the video. Like, I was dry, and it's January, so I'm having a 6.7% double bock beer. But now, so anyway, so my first beer. I shall tell you what I've got here. I've got an Adnams Ghost Ship, and now it says 0.5%, but you know, technically it's alcohol-free. Although when I bought it and it blipped through the till, it said, please wait for somebody to basically verify your age. So because it's 0.5, possibly that was the reason, I don't know. But this is a real favourite of mine, even though it is quite citra forward, which I'm not really keen on, citra hops really, but it is a really well-balanced, really nice beer. I've never had this as an alcohol-free, so it'll be interesting. So what have you got, Jesse, as your first one?
So my first one is actually something that I believe is Canadian. So this is Partake IPA.
Oh, yeah.
And so Partake is a non-alcoholic brand. They have a few different styles of beers. And I find that their beers are really, really close to their alcohol counterparts. But the really cool thing about Partake is, I don't know if you can see on the can, 10 calories per can.
Wow.
Which is, so typically, you know, you have the non-alcoholics, they add a lot of sugar to them to try to give it some kind of, I don't know how Partake does it. This is some kind of magic that they have, but what does it say for sugar on that?
This is 115 calories. This is.
115.
So, yeah, sugars. I mean, there's not a lot of sugars in there, 0.7 grams. But yeah, but like you said, they've got to get some flavour from somewhere, isn't there?
Yeah.
I've actually got a Ghost Ship glass. So I'm going to pour this out and we'll crack these open, mate. Beautiful. And we'll give them a whirl. Oh. This is
for a glass. I've got Pilsner Kelly. You'll see a lot of the Czech beer stuff. So my dad's actually from the Czech Republic, and I'm a dual citizen of Czech Republic and Canada. So beer drinking is part of the culture. This is a normal thing. So we'll use the Pilsner Kelly glass.
I'm quite jealous of that. And you know what? I do apologize. I should have. I've been so concentrating on looking into your eyes while I'm speaking to you. I didn't even notice your Pilsner as well. Is it a tin up there, like a sign up there?
Yeah. We got the Pilsner Kelton, and then a friend of mine named Matt, he dropped off the Kozel tin as well, which I'm wearing the Kozel polo as well here.
Wicked.
So trying to keep it all beer themed.
I can smell the sweetness in this actually. Oh.
So this IPA, it's a great beer, but I find with a lot of the non-alcoholics, really heavy carbonation, and I don't know if it comes through, but you can see the head is fairly decent.
I've got the same. This has got huge amounts of rising carbonation in that. Can you? I don't. Now I'm going to actually at some point I might even pay for StreamYard because then you get the 1080p camera on there. But yeah, we've got a lot of. I don't think this has got a nucleation point on the bottom. I don't think it is because it's not that type of beer to want one. But yeah, this is just a nice citrus pale ale, so it don't really want. But yeah, it's got loads and loads of carbonation rising in that. It is literally like I've shook one of them snowballs, and and it's rising up. But just the Pilsner Guel, is that how you? I struggle saying that. That's one of my favorite Pilsners. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I think from what I've researched, they use all like pale malts, like low coloured malts, but they get the colour in it from all the decoction mash that they do, which is basically they do the mash and then they take a third of the mash out, boil it to like really get them colours and caramels out of it and put it back in. So somebody sort of told me the other day that the colour of that beer is not coming from the actual mashing malts, it's coming from that decoction method, which is fantastic. And that's why you get all that lovely flavour from that beer. I love it.
Well, and anyway, if you go to the city, it's in the city of Pilsner. So it's the first Pilsner beer. And it's incredible to do the Pilsner at the Pilsner Kel Brewery. It's unbelievable. And they actually have to this day, so they have the beer in giant wooden casks, and they have the cask makers on site making them. So that's why I don't know if you can see the light here. It's a half cask. Light fixture as well. But it's kind of an ode to the Pilsner Brewery. But it's unbelievable to be able to tour that. And they actually have the copper, one of the copper vats from the first batch of Pilsner beer ever made on site. And they explain how during World War II, the Germans were looking for copper everywhere. They buried it in the ground during the war and dug it back up after the war to hide that. And it's the first vat. It's unbelievable.
Wow. What an amazing story. Right.
Oh, sorry.
Cheers.
How rude of me. Sorry. Cheers.
I've done it myself. Honestly, I've done it with Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers. Pleased to meet you in real time rather than on the phone and such like. Right, let's see what this is going to give us. You see, with radio, you should never pause, should you? Like that was a pause from both of us then. Now, I'm going to be honest all the way through this. I'm not going to like be big. Now, I love Ghost Ship. I really do. It's probably one of my favorite sort of trad beers or traditional beers from Adnams, and it's coming from Adnams Brewery. And my friend who was involved with the beer festival in Leicester, he told me, he said, look, if you want a non-alcoholic beer, I can recommend this. This is actually very good. So I am really, to be quite honest with you, I can sort of taste some of them biscuity malts in that somehow. Whether or not it's psychological, I don't know.
One other thing, you just mentioned bottle shop, and I think there's a difference too here, I guess culturally or whatever you want to call it, regionally. So for us, Dry January, you talked about supporting bottle shops and how during January they may be a little bit of a struggle. Where we are in Canada, so alcohol sales are really tightly regulated by the government and highly taxed. So I think Dry January has a bit of a different take here, where part of it is, and non-alcoholic drinks in general, and kind of a move from alcohol is exploding here for I think a couple of reasons. One is the cost, that government taxation, and so you're buying alcohol from government stores, not private stores. So if we cross the border and we're in the U.S., you can go to the corner store and buy a beer, where here you have to go to literally the government beer store. It's called the beer store.
Really? So you don't
Yeah,
have sort of independent bottle shops there like we do in the UK?
No, only for wine distribution, and even then, it depends on where you are. It's still generally controlled by the government very tightly. Becomes very expensive as well for distribution from small breweries, craft breweries. So there's the craft brewery scene. Really, they survive on pairing and partnering with well-known restaurants to have like a food and drink experience. But it's tougher for independent breweries and for small wineries as well to exist because of the government control that's here, and it's really tough. So I don't think people feel too they don't have much sympathy for the government if alcohol sales are low during January.
Yeah.
But also from a government perspective, I think the other thing is, and you may have seen this, I think it was definitely in the US media. I don't know if it was really featured in the UK, but Health Canada had come out with new guidelines on alcohol consumption based on their studies saying that Canadians shouldn't drink more than 2 drinks per week. And that's the health guidance from the government, is that no more than 2 drinks per week. Wow. So Americans had a lot of fun with that in the media, and
and yet when you think about it, your sort of condition, that you've got your liver condition, has not come from drinking alcohol. It's come from eating the food that they'll allow you to eat as much as you want. It's crazy, isn't it? You can have as much processed food as you want, but we recommend you only have 2 beers a week.
Exactly. Yeah, and they're telling you to eat bread and milk and all of these different things that can cause the liver condition. But hey, slow it down on having the beers, right?
See, that's another problem that I used to have when I really did put on a lot of weight. That's just the bread, and that just triggered me. I used to go. There's a pub around the corner here, and they used to have a live band on every Thursday. So we used to go out and we'd say we'll have a 6-pint cut-off, and then it went to a 10-pint cut-off, and then it went to when the money runs out. So and then we'd have a lock in there, and we'd be drinking so much. But I'd come home, and the first thing I'd do would be the grill on, bread under the thing, toast, real butter, lashings of butter on, because you're not regulating how much butter. The butter's hard because it's not like I like real butter. So you're carving a big piece off, putting it on, melting it on, and that was a real downfall for me. Every Thursday it was fun, but then you just suddenly catch a photo of yourself and think, wow. In fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do when I edit this video. At this point, I will put that photo in shot. I will put it in shot, and I think, like a lot of people, it'll shock you,
Well,
because
I can send you a before and after as well that you can pop in to see the
yeah,
before and
okay.
after. So to see, I lost 35 pounds. So I mentioned that, I didn't ever really gain weight, and I didn't until relatively recently. And one of the giveaways with the fatty liver is if you have people say beer belly, you have a distended gut, that
Yes.
generally is an indication that your liver is actually inflamed.
Oh,
So, so if your stomach's sticking out a little bit and you're otherwise, relatively thin, it's a likely sign of the fatty liver. So, but yeah, I mean, you could see such a difference in weight in just like a short few months.
yeah. I mean, that's interesting you say that, because a lot of people, and I don't want to like be disrespectful to anybody, but a lot of people that do spend a lot of time, like big drinkers that are probably in the pub every single day, you tend to find that a lot of big drinkers are quite slim, but they have got a beer belly, because I suppose they're getting a lot of their calories from beer and they're not really eating that much to compensate for it. But you do see a lot of very slim, quite heavy drinkers with that little. So that's interesting. So they've probably got a condition like yourself that they don't really even realize then.
Yeah. And so dry January is interesting. So from a positive health point of view, so dry January, people will, they'll fall off dry January. Of course, it happens. That's totally normal. And one of the brilliant campaigns that's actually happening here in Canada was from, I think it's I don't want to get it wrong, but I think it's the Canadian Cancer Society. So they know that people are going to fall off of dry January. Totally normal thing that happens. But what they do is they promote throughout January, they promote dry February, because February is a shorter month, a little bit more achievable. And if you fell off in January, why not join and do dry February? And it's all to raise a conversation and to raise funds for the Canadian Cancer Society. So it's a brilliant campaign to get people thinking about their cause, and also to create a positive difference. And plus, like I said, February is a shorter month, so it's a little more achievable.
Yeah, and it's not just straight. I mean, everybody's really overindulged at Christmas. We've all drank more than what we should have done, and then all of a sudden it's stopped, and then you've got the longest month. It's dark, it's dismal, it's wet, it's rain, it's damp, it's cold, it's horrible, and you're like, oh my god. But for me, I found that when I decided we were going to have sort of like 3 weeks off the beer, then we're going away to some friends for the weekend, so that'd be quite a good one. And then we've got a week back, then we're going on holiday. So I would have been doing a total of sort of 4 weeks with a bit of drinking in between. But about 4 or 5 days into, well, I stopped on the Sunday, and then I think it was the next weekend. I missed this place. I missed coming down here, cracking open a beer, talking about it in front of the phone all by myself, while Jane watches, for all the UK viewers, like Strictly Come Dancing, or Dancing on Ice is starting now, or Traitors, which is on at the minute. All that sort of, like, I call it rubbish TV. I'm not going to swear. I call it like sort of like that crap TV type of thing. And so Janie will have an hour up there, I'll have an hour or so down here. And I just find it therapy. And I was sort of like, my mind is not ticking around, well, I've got to get that beer sorted. I want to message the brewery. I want to ask them some information. I want to talk to them about it. And it's starting to make me feel a bit unhappy. And I come down here, cracked a beer open, chatted to myself, or woo, woo, woo. And then wee.
And you're back. Yeah, that's right. Well, I do know, you know what? You talk about rubbish TV. I do know one program from the UK, I believe, but it's only because I'm a big boxing fan, and the UK boxing scene is unbelievable. So Tommy Fury was on Love Island. That's the only. Yeah, so I'm aware of that one.
I mean, don't get me wrong. When I say it's sort of like TV type of thing, well, I like Strictly Come Dancing. I like The Jungle. I do like the programs. But what I tend to find is that, like, if I sit in front of the telly, I'll watch the telly and I'll start to nod or whatever. So I sort of like label it that it's that time of year when these programs sort of come on, and I just think, well, rather than sit there and fall asleep after our day's work, I'm gonna come down here and buzz. Like my personality sort of like allows me to do. I just like to be buzzing. I don't like to be sat there asleep. I don't want to sleep for 2 hours and think, oh no, I've missed 2 hours of my life, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, but no, but Love Island is another one that I did watch. And then it's going to sound a little bit sort of like what a melancholy, I suppose, if that's the right word, but I don't like how it hurts people's feelings. I know that they're going on there to be messed about with their emotions, but some people generally do actually go there and go, it does hurt their feelings. I'm like, no, I don't like hurting people's feelings. You know, I don't want to watch that. So
For sure.
But, you know,
yeah. But the positive is that Tommy and Molly ended up together, and now they just had a baby. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, there is some good comes out of it, isn't there? You know, it is. For so sure. Yeah, that is good. How's your beer?
So I would say typically, and I know that this is going to be, looked down upon big time in the craft beer community, but I'm actually not a huge fan of a lot of different craft beers or like IPAs. Even I tend to drink a lot of like commercial beers, the big production, except our local brewery, Lock Street Brewery. They're incredible. So I tend to not go for IPAs, but with the non-alcoholics, I find the IPAs have just a bit more bite, and they're a bit more like a proper alcohol lager, pilsner, anything like that. So I do enjoy this one quite a bit, and you see it still actually retains a little bit of the head there. The wild carbonation is gone. It looks more like a normal standard beer.
It actually got a lovely colour, that has as well. Let me have a look at it.
Yeah, it does.
That looks like it's got a very nice colour, that has.
Yeah,
has it got any of that sort of like Moorishy type of taste with it? Is it what's it sort of tasting like, if you know what I
mean? This one, I don't know if this is this particular beer, but to be completely honest, and this is going to sound horrible, it has a bit of a metallic tinny taste to it. Sometimes non-alcoholics will have that. And I don't know, normally Partake is not like that, but I'd say there's a lot of bitterness and a little bit of tinniness to it.
Yeah. I think that's accountable for more, really. I'm getting the same, but I'll be honest with you. I mean, look at that. That's still sort of like holding on to the hero, isn't it? Sort of
really is.
Yeah, I mean, look, it don't look bad in the glass. It actually does look like what the normal ghost ship would look like, and I've been sort of drinking it and chatting it, and I'm not finding it offensive at all. It has got like that nice sort of like bitterness to it as well that you get with.
Well, in terms of production,
normal one, but like a hoppy finish type of thing, a nice hop finish.
So Ghost Ship, like in terms of production, and it's not something that I'm familiar with here. So would you say it's like a small, medium size, or a larger producer?
It's a fair. It's Adnams Brewery. They are quite a decent brewery, quite a big brewery. And this is the Ghost Ship has been one of their sort of like flagship beers, really, that just goes on. I don't know a whole lot about them because it's only just trying to think. They do Adnams Broadside as well, which is a really, really good beer. That's a really like quite high alcohol, quite dark sort of beer. Really don't want to be drinking too many of them. You do end up a bit on your back. I mean, I've drank stronger beers that don't put me down as much as that do. I think it's just the darkness of the beer and what's involved in the beer puts you to sleep. But this is just a really nice, zesty type of fresh, real nice sort of biscuity, malted, really lovely beer. And you do get that nice freshness from the hops and that. So this is carrying, because they've got a lot of American hops in this. This is carrying itself quite well, actually. I'm not drinking it. It doesn't taste sweet, which surprises me, really. It actually does. Yeah, but it has got that, like you say, it has got that, even though it's come out of a bottle, it has got that metallic-y type of taste. But yeah, it's dryish, it's hoppy, it's not bad at all, really. I'm just interested to see
where that comes from, the metallic-y taste. But to be totally fair, the Partake, I have had that one sitting in the fridge for quite some time, so it's not the freshest either. And that might have something to do with it.
Yeah. Right, well, didn't take long to drink that because, well, it's non-alcoholic. The funny thing is as well, is you tend to find if you were sort of like doing a beer chat and you just, or you're having a chat like this and you're having a few beers, you tend to get sort of like a half hour into it and you start to notice a little effect. The thing with drinking non-alcoholic beers is there's no effect whatsoever. And I've often said that I don't actually drink beer to get drunk. It's not my go-to thing. It just happens, you know. But I like nice beer. I like stuff that tastes nice. I don't go out to think, you know what, I'm going out to get smashed tonight. But when you have these several pints of craft beer at 6 or 7%, it happens, doesn't it?
And it's just a different, and like I understand what you're saying. It's not the intention isn't to go and get drunk, but it's just a different experience. It's a completely different experience. And I also find that, you know, if you're drinking regular beer, you also tend to, maybe it's a little bit different because we're having this chat, but I find that if it's a non-alcoholic beer, I'm drinking it much slower and I might have one or two and that's it. But if it's an alcohol beer, you might have quite a few more, right?
Yeah. I think because you've actually got them real flavors in there. You've got them real grab to, you know, it's leaving, rather than these can leave you a little bit gassy, can't they? And a bit, whereas like a proper good beer can leave your palate sort of laced and coated, ready for the next one.
Yes.
But because we're talking dry January and we are having an alcohol-free chat, I'm gonna get my next one out. Doom Bar. Sharp's Doom Bar. Now, this is a really strange one for me because I've not had one of these for a long while. And a friend of mine actually bought me a 5-litre tin of it for my birthday. And I went, oh, Doom Bar. I hope he's not watching. He actually will be watching. He's going to go, oh, right, yeah. But I did. I thought, oh, Doom Bar. Yeah, okay, we'll see. And I'd heard about it, but I drank it and I thought, that's actually quite nice. It is quite nice. It's an amber ale. I've had to actually like research this because I just wanted to find out the real flavors in this, because I'm not going to get the real flavors out of this. So I wanted to find the real flavors to then compare it to see what I'm getting. So this is an amber ale. It's moorish. It's got spicy resinous hops, sweet roasted malts. So that's what the original would have, or the alcohol version of it would have. So I'll see what this gives. What have you got, sir?
So for me, we all know what our main event is. I guess anybody watching this doesn't know quite yet, but we've decided on what we're going to have together last the same. But so before we were recording, I'd asked Spenno to choose the beers. And I said, I have a few different alcoholic beers. So he chose the Partake because it was something that's Canadian and a little bit different. He chose the main event that we're going to have, but the next one that we're going to have, he had asked for, or he said to Heineken, because everybody kind of, knows Heineken, and I'm sorry being a guest. So this is maybe my second strike, because the first one was drinking before cheers. The second one was I actually changed the beer last minute. So I just thought, since we're in North America, coming to you from North America, close to the US border, had a Canadian one. I want to throw an American one in as well. So Budweiser Zero. Sorry, everything is backwards, so I'm trying to.
Yeah.
So Budweiser Zero, zero alcohol Budweiser, 50 calories per can. And I've found that this Budweiser, so it's the brewing process for Budweiser, and I believe Coors, it's a big popular American brand. I'm not sure if Coors is sold in the UK.
Coors, you say? Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Coors Light, I think.
Coors Light. So Coors Light's version is called Coors Edge, and both Budweiser and Coors will go through the same brewing process, and somehow they de-alcoholize the beer. So I find that they're both relatively close to their counterparts, but simple light beer. It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's something for me. I'm not. I have to be sort of careful what I say, because, like I said, I don't like Budweiser. For me, is just like a beer that I don't get on with at all. So I would say that the zero shouldn't be too difficult to emulate because the actual original hasn't got much flavor anyway. Sorry.
So for me, it's more of like, you know, we as I mentioned, we're 15 minutes from the US border. The reality is, I mean, 70% of Canadian jobs are either directly tied to an American company or an American employer within Canada. And there's so much influence from the US that's in Canada, whether people in Canada like to admit it or not. But we love America and we're so close to the border. These are our neighbors. We have many American friends. And I just, for me, it's more of just like almost a cultural thing. You know, Budweiser is just like the American thing, right? So when we go across, it's like something that is almost like just a little treat to have a Budweiser while you're just kind of, you know, being a part of the culture. And it's interesting because if you buy a Budweiser in Canada, it's actually brewed in Canada, and it's different than if you buy it in the US. So this one's actually from the US. Same goes with the Budweiser Zero. They're slightly different. So this is actually a Budweiser Zero from the US.
See, and the thing is as well, is the I can't even say it now, the Budweiser that we're getting here, because a lot of the beers that we have here, they're brewed under license in the UK.
Yes.
So like San Miguel, you know, so if we have a San Miguel here, it's brewed in the UK. The Heineken is brewed in the UK, although if you get the little tins of Heineken, they're from the Netherlands, like the proper Netherlands brewed Heineken. So I'm thinking that like the Budweiser that we're having over here is probably brewed under license in the UK by Heineken. Is this something I'll need to actually look into? And if you're watching this, and you know any information about it, please put in the comments about it, because you know we're always learning. But yeah, so the Budweiser that you're having is from the US. So it's the proper stuff then, isn't it? It's the proper gear.
Yeah, we see that with a lot of brands similar to like you say in the UK. I mean, Sapporo here, depending on the size, if you get the 750 milliliter can of Sapporo, it's brewed not in Japan, it's actually brewed in South Korea. If you get the 500 milliliter can, it's brewed here in Canada. So it doesn't, you know, you think that you're buying a Japanese beer and it's actually just brewed in Canada. And it's just it's a marketing gimmick. It's just a stunt, right?
I know, it's crazy. It's like the Stella, isn't it? The Stella now, the ABV's been lowered. It's brewed in the UK, and whereas if you get the proper Stella, the 5.2% sort of Stella, it's a lot more of a better beer than what we get over here in the UK. I actually used to really like Stella, but now, it's what we get here in the UK brewed here it's terrible. Sorry if that offends anybody. I don't mean to. It's subjective anyway. You know what I mean? It's like everything I say, just because I go like I don't like that, it doesn't mean it's bad or it's whatever. It's subjective, you know.
Well, and you know, it's interesting that you say that. So during the pandemic, it was really strange for us because the border was closed, so we couldn't cross into the US. And typically, we'll go to the US once a week to get gas, groceries. Maybe go grab a bite to eat somewhere at a restaurant in America. And when the border closed, we didn't even think of how much. That's really when we realized how much we love America. Because when, you know, once it was taken away from us, we're like, oh my gosh, we missed the US. And so I would always say, you know, we'd buy Budweiser, like, oh, I can't wait till I can have an American Bud again. You know, like it's different. And so once the border opened, we did and we had a few friends over doing a blind taste test of American versus Canadian Bud. And I swore for sure I loved American Bud. It's so much better. I could tell the difference for sure. 3 times in a row, I picked the Canadian Budweiser as my favorite one doing a blind taste test.
Oh, did you?
Funny enough, yeah. But I think that regardless of whether it's better or not, I think what you're saying too is like, it's the authenticity. You want the, you know, the Sapporo that's actually from Japan, or the you know, Stella's Belgium, right? So the Stella that's actually from Belgium, right? So it's just like you want the authentic experience.
There's a machine called the Perfect Draft. Have you heard of that? The Perfect Draft.
Yes, machine? We don't have it over here, but I'm well aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got one, but it's sort of like under the bench over there, and I need to get it out. But I had a keg of the Stella, from the Belgium keg from the Stella. I think it was 5.2, and I had it through the perfect draft, and it was absolutely spot on. And then the friends of ours that drink Stella, and I went round and he gave me a can of Stella, and it was, at the time, it was the 5% UK brewed one before they've lowered the ABV because of tax reasons, I think. And just totally different, you know.
Wow.
So if I say I don't like Stella and I wasn't aware of the Belgium Stella that you can get on the perfect draft, then somebody could say to me, well, come and try one of this, and you know, and then you opens your eyes to it, you know. It's like, you imagine the Pilsner Urquell. That is, you can buy that here in the UK off from a supermarket, and it is the genuine article. Whereas, like, if they stopped supplying it, or we stopped importing it in, and then we brewed it here under license, it'd ruin that beer, you know. And that's a wonderful beer, Pilsner Urquell. I love it.
Yeah,
I've got one in the fridge.
So that, speaking of Budweiser, so there's a bit of a controversy as well. Not controversy, but there's been a long-term legal battle between Anheuser-Busch and the Czech, from the town of Budweiser, or like in Czech is České Budějovice. But in the UK you have Budvar or Budvar beer.
Yeah.
So Budweiser, I believe, isn't allowed to call their beer Budweiser in the UK.
Right.
And so, because the Czech company has the trademark for that name, so depending on the country, Budweiser may be known as Bud. And when they later came with Bud Light, they didn't call it Budweiser Light. It was Bud Light because of the trademark disputes that they were having. So that they got the same branding across the world. But in Canada, the Czech brand Budvar that you'd have in the UK is actually called Czechvar in Canada. Same beer, but it's called Czechvar in Canada, and Budvar in the UK, and of course Czech Republic as well.
Wow, that's amazing, isn't it? Well, I love Budvar. I love Pilsner Urquell, and I love Budvar. Two absolutely fantastic beers, absolutely amazing. In fact, I've definitely got a Budvar in the fridge, and I think I've got a Pilsner Urquell. So I might be having one of them later.
Beautiful. You'll have to, that's the three kings. So the Budvar, Pilsner Urquell, and Kozel. So you'll have to add a Kozel to the mix. You'll have a real good night.
So what's the Kozel then? What's that?
So Kozel is another Czech lager. I believe that Kozel is owned by Pilsner Urquell, so same company that produces both. So they have a few different brands: Radagast, Kozel, Pilsner Urquell, and there's one more that is non-alcoholic. That's Birell. And Birell, actually, they don't sell it in North America, but it's a fantastic non-alcoholic option as well. Wow. I had it by accident. So for me here, when you go to sporting events, you can buy alcohol. You go to a hockey game in the NHL, you go to a baseball game, a Major League Baseball or football game, American football game. You can be in the arena, in the stadium, and you can go and buy a beer, no problem. I didn't realize that in a lot of places in Europe, they don't sell alcohol within the stadium itself.
Wow.
So in Czech Republic, I don't know if it's like that in the UK, but in the Czech Republic and in France, they only serve non-alcoholic options.
Well, we when I used to go down to Leicester City, my local football team, Leicester City, I don't go anymore. I had a season ticket. I went for quite a lot of years. Then life just got in the way. Had to sort of give it up. You can go into sort of like the holding area, so to speak. So you go through the turnstiles, you go in with your ticket, and you go in the holding area where everybody's sort of chatting away and watching the telly, and you can place bets or if you want to. And they sell beer in there and alcoholic beer. So just regular whatever normal beer, but you can't take it up into your seat to watch the game. So you just have to consume it within that sort of like lobby area. And then when they call, or when the match is going to start, down it goes or away it goes. And then you go up. Whereas at the rugby, so we have the Leicester Tigers here, which is the local rugby team. You can drink all you like sitting watching the game. No problem at all. And I think, to be fair, the reason being is because the rugby crowd are a little less sort of active than the football crowd. I think the rugby crowd, everybody sits together, all the different teams sit together, they'll cheers. Oh, nice try! Your team just scored against us. Fantastic! Cheers! You know, whereas in the football, it's
yeah, the atmosphere is unbelievable.
It's what? Sorry.
The atmosphere in the football games is unbelievable.
Oh yeah. Once everybody stops swearing and calling the referee a.
But it's so the first one I went to was so I saw Monaco versus Olympic Marseille in Monaco, and you would think that I couldn't believe it. This is a regular season game. I'm outside. There's police on horses with full riot gear, and I'm thinking, what the heck is going on here? This is crazy. And there as well, they didn't sell alcohol in the stadium. But there's people with the smoke bombs and flares. I'm like, what? This is absolute madness. The amount of security, and I didn't know what section. I didn't realize. So here, you go to a sporting event, opposing teams, you get seats wherever. It doesn't matter. So if you're a fan of the away team, you may sit anywhere. There's no sections. And I don't know if it's the same in the UK, but in France and in Czech Republic, there was sections where, like, if you're a fan of that team, you sit in that section. So I didn't know what section I was sitting in. So I don't know who I can cheer for, who I can't cheer for. I didn't know what's going on. And then in Prague, I went to see, so it was Slavia Prague versus, it was a club that was from Spain. And similarly, like, there was sections and people with the smoke and the chants and jumping around. It was total madness. And I'm looking at the section beside me, and there's a fence with razor wire at the top. And I was wondering, like, what is this for? And that was actually for families. So that was like to keep them safe from all the hooligans. This is the craziest stuff I've ever seen. Here, you go to a sporting event. Yeah, there's a lot of energy and everything, but that's a different level, and that's awesome. Like that's so. I wish sports were a lot more intense from a fan experience point of view. But wow, that was amazing. What an experience.
I mean, like here with the football, we so just talking about our local team. I'm going to have a glug of this before.
Cheers. Here we go. Sorry, I got a little ahead of you.
Cheers. Oh yeah, I forgot as well. Cheers. Wow. Oh, that one's a little bit different. We'll talk about that in a minute. Then look at that. The head is completely gone on that. It did go straight away, but yeah, that's a different beer altogether. But yeah, at Leicester, so you have the Leicester City fans in, the local ground, our King Power Stadium, the Leicester City fans, then you have the away fans in another area. And everybody's going, whoa, and all that to each other, and like shouting abuse and everything that goes with it. But generally, there isn't any trouble. It's all banter. It's all like, you get the odd bit, but I just think in general, the trouble comes from the troublemakers. It doesn't come in general. You can have a banter and a laugh and a shout, and we're all singing different, like taking the mixed songs to each other and things, and it's all really good. But when things happen, the football crowd, they come together in droves. I mean, like the helicopter, the owner of the King Power Station, the helicopter came down and crashed, and the owner and a few others were killed, and every single away team that came to Leicester City paid absolute fantastic respect when they did minute silence and things like that. So 1 minute, all the football crowds are at each other, but when it comes to anything to do with charities or any respect, when it comes to oh crikey, I can't even think what it is now. A Poppy Day, the Remembrance Day, the minute silence or the 2 minute silence is unbelievable, because 30,000, 40,000 people go completely silent, and then when the whistle blows, it all erupts. Then the game starts, and then it's So the atmosphere is absolutely fantastic, and it is really good. But if you get an away fan who's borrowed their mate's season ticket to watch their away team, and they're sat in the home ground quarters, if you know what I mean, and anybody spots them, then there's trouble. It's like, get him out of here. from me. Not from me. I'm just sat there like, yeah, I'll just watch the football. But you know, if there's an away fan in the home fans area, then oh my god, it does kick off. Yeah, it's funny. So how'd you be?
So this one is quite refreshing after the last night. I hate to say it because partake's usually so great, but it's clearing off my palate, thankfully. And it's exactly what you'd think it is from Budweiser. Yeah. So and right now it's exactly what the doctor ordered. I'd say it's very much so. The crazy carbonation is gone, but one of the things that's become popular here as well is, and I haven't tried this, but I don't know if you've heard of hop water before.
Yeah, I've just recently heard of that. Yeah, hop water. Yeah. What? So
it's almost like a hop flavored seltzer. So there's nothing else in it other than water, carbonation, and whatever hop flavoring that they. And from the few people that I've talked to that have tried it, they said like it's one of those great things, almost like you mow the lawn, and it's like there's nothing like having a beer after you mow the lawn on a hot day. And they say it's just even more refreshing than having an actual beer. I'd love to try it, but I'm
just trying to think where I've seen that, and I did think to myself that could actually be quite nice, because if you're just using just purely the hops, and especially if you're using, say, the hop leaf, and you get some of them like resinous sort of flavors out the hop. If you ever get a hop and you rub it together, have you ever done that? And you get them oils. It's so nice, isn't it? And you feel the oil, and then you smell it. It's really strong. And if if you just touch it on your tongue, you can really get them. So I could imagine it could be quite like, it could be quite a bit like in your face with the hops and just water and a bit of carbonation. But I can imagine it being quite an interesting drink. I might look into getting some of that.
Yeah,
I'm sure one of the breweries that I've been sort of talking about, I've seen it on their website. Actually, I'm sure of it. So I'll look into that. But if anybody watching this now, because although this isn't live, it will be going on the channel. If you know where we can get, well, here in the UK, or if anybody your end knows where we can get it from, then pop in the comments, and we'll go and get some, and I'll review it on the channel, see what it's like. But yeah, my knowledge of sporting things and that, I don't watch telly, I don't watch the news. I'm terrible for that. A lot of people, well, not a lot of people, a few people will say to me, you should watch the news, really. You should have an understanding of what's going on in the world. And I think I do in general by what you hear on just your radio news and things, but I don't purposely sit and watch the news. I find it all a little bit, I like to keep a bit more of a smile on my face.
Well, I was going to say, Spenno, you seem like a very, very positive person. Don't ruin that by watching the news.
No, exactly.
That's not it. Yeah.
I am one of the most positive people. Like, friends of mine will say to me, like, you are the most positive person I've ever met in my life. And I will turn around and say, I wish I could turn myself around and look at me and take on my own advice and my own things that I say, because I'm one of them people where, like I spoke to you earlier, but I don't want to speak about it too much now. I went through a bit of a bad time, sort of like in 2019, and it really did put me into a big deep hole and a really dark place. And I kept a lot of it to myself, a lot of self-destructing and things like that. Now I'm super happy. Jane, wonderful wife, wonderful life. We've got this Pubshed, which is, as you know yourself, it's just it puts that look at her smiling. It puts that smile on the face. It means that we get to chat. We've met. We've spoke to a lot of different people. We interact. It's really great. But yeah, I just have to sometimes just turn around to myself and say the moment's now. And when you get them little triggers come back, them little demons, them little scars that are still there, you have to just go, the moment's now, and keep that shiny bright light shining, as much as you can.
And even when things aren't great, I mean, just knowing that every single time that things haven't been great, that there's always something that's around the corner that you didn't expect that has been. So it's worth hanging on, because there's always something that's there that's going to be great.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very good at the odd time. I mean, most of the Instagram Pubshed is, we're all really like positive, and we're all like sharing each other's stuff, and we're having a laugh and an interaction and looking at different beers and discovering things. It's really great. And then the odd time you'll just get somebody put something there that they just need a little bit of a positive word, a little bit of a hug, or like a sort of an internet hug. And I can so quickly come up with a positive sort of saying. And then when I say it, I think, crikey, you should take that on board yourself. You know, I think I can't think who it was who was having a bad day. And I says, just remember, even on the dullest day, the sun still shines, because it has to, because we have light, don't we? So technically, the sun is always shining, and just think of that. Even on your the most baddest days, you know, there's still sunshine there, and you know, and or if you have a bad day today, tomorrow's another day, isn't it? You know, and tomorrow's another day and another beer.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, of course, it might not be one, might be more than one. So, and it's worthwhile. And I mean, we're talking a lot about beers, non-alcoholic, but I think that there's also, well, now, and I don't know if it's the same. You know, again, I keep saying this, but like where you are, but there's a lot of alternatives. We talked about hop water, but the thing that I'm seeing a lot as well here is, and I know that you aren't as well, because I heard you on the Ellen audio last night, but you're not a big spirits person. I'm not either, but like I saw big brands like Tanqueray and Captain Morgan, they're doing non-alcoholic gin, non-alcoholic rum. I tried a non-alcoholic gin and tonic premix. It was terrible. It was one of the worst things ever. But I don't know if you've heard of or tried seedlip cocktails.
No.
So it's some kind of spirit that is so similar process to making an alcoholic spirit, but there's no alcohol in it. But the experience and the sensation that you get. So we tried this a couple weekends ago. At this restaurant, they had non-alcoholic cocktails.
What? Belching non-alcoholic beer.
What was a seedlip, and I've seen this in the, so here are there's the beer store like I mentioned, and there's the other stores, LCBO, so the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. It's a store called the Liquor Control Board of Ontario. We just know it as LCBO. That's where you would get wine, any kind of spirits, and also they do carry some beers as well. But the LCBO, where you buy spirits, they actually have this seedlip in a bottle, and it's the same price as any other similar size spirit. But the experience, it's so hard to explain. It's one of those things you have to just try it. But it has like kind of like the burn of the alcohol and like the sensation that's in your mouth. That really, if you have a cocktail like that, it's really similar to having a proper alcoholic cocktail. And I thought that one is something that I think is going to really become popular. And if you haven't tried it, I definitely recommend trying one of those.
Yeah, you'll have to actually like write it down for me, message it me. Yeah, but I'll definitely like, because I'll forget that straight away. I mean, when you say about that with giving you the sensation, it's like if you make a cocktail, do you really? You can make. I love espresso martinis and making them in here, and there's a lot of vodka in that. But when you actually drink it, you don't go, oh, I can taste the vodka. Whereas if you had that vodka neat, like ice it down, put it in the freezer, get it nice and cold, and drink it, you will get that sort of like flavor from it. So it's really diluted down anyway, and it's not as if you really miss. So if you're getting that zing and that hit from it, but without the alcohol, then excuse me, there we go again. That's got to be a good thing. But I think it's probably a lot easier to get a non-alcoholic sort of white spirit based drink than anything like like a dark rum or a bourbon type whiskey or something like that. I couldn't imagine drinking like anything like that non-alcoholic. Oh, that'd be absolutely horrible. A little bit like this. I've got to say that the Ghost Ship weren't too bad. That was acceptable, and it had a lot of the what's the attributes, is it? I'm rubbish at words, that the original has. But this, wow. Nah, it's like, I don't know, like an instant beer, you know, like 2 spoonfuls of beer, swill it round with a bit of water, and there we got it.
This one is just, you know, if you're having a lunch and having some crisps with a hot dog, this is what you're drinking right here.
Yeah, this smells like Marmite. It's got like, so the original Doom Bar. I'm actually going to buy a proper Doom Bar and try it, because I bet if I had a real one, I'd be like, oh, that's fantastic now. But yeah, amber, Moorish, spicy resinous hops and sweet roasted malts. Well, Marmite. That's what I can smell in that. And I love Marmite. But yeah, that is literally just giving me a Marmite smell. Mm. Yeah. Awful. I remember years ago, have you ever done like Stoptober? It's another excuse to stop something. So if you smoke, you can stop smoking, or I don't know, if you drink too much coffee, even you can cut down on coffee. It's about stopping something. It's over here in the UK. So I remember, I thought, you know what? Because I've done a lot of things for charity over the years, and I used to. So now I'm all into all the Pubshed stuff and all this YouTube stuff. And the YouTube stuff was by accident, really. But I used to be completely opposite, all into the music. So doing sort of like a lot of the music scene on around Leicester. Did a lot of charity gigs, a lot of where I put on quite a few bands and a few artists and things, and raising lots of money for charity. So we had a big following. We call it the Music Family. And I put on Facebook, when I was on Facebook, I'm not on it now, I'm doing Stoptober. I'm giving up alcohol for a month to raise money for cancer, the cancer research. And literally it went crazy, because everybody was like, Spenno, you're giving up alcohol for a month? I'm donating. You giving up alcohol? No way. They couldn't believe it, literally. And we had a pub in town. Well, it was just near the railway station. And I said, I'm going down there Friday night, just on my own, for one last blowout before I start it. So if anybody wants to come down, I'll see you there. Well, absolutely loads of all the Music Family come down, loads of people. We had a fantastic night. I got absolutely hammered. And then I gave it up for a month. And I was so strict, because I was raising money for charity. I was having I used to have a Jack Daniel's sauce that I'd put on various bits and bobs or whatever. And I even checked that, and because it had a smidgen of alcohol in it, I wouldn't have it, because I'm just so honest. And I just thought, if I'm cutting out alcohol, it's got to be
all the way.
Yeah. And yeah, so consequently raised quite a bit. I think I raised just under £1,000 for charity. And I became a coffee addict, because I just had the hit from the coffee.
Well, that's amazing for a good cause.
So what time are we at your place now? So I'm at 9:25. So what are you, about 4:25 there?
4:25, yeah.
Yeah, look at that. I knew I'd learned something at school. So have you managed to listen to the Ellen Audio podcast today? Or
not the full podcast, but it was actually, so last night I started listening to it. I listened to your segment, as definitely at the beginning, but I didn't get very far into the podcast just yet. Typically that'll be like kind of like you. So I will listen to it on Thursdays, walking the dog in the evening. Yeah. Didn't walk the dog last night. But if I don't, I'll usually catch up on Saturdays. So it's either Thursday night or through Saturday. And I love to throw it up when there's video as well, like throw it up on the TV in the Pubshed and just kind of chill out and watch that. And I love watching your videos in the Pubshed.
Oh, bless you, mate. But I couldn't believe it when I see the picture of myself in your Pubshed watching me. That's one of the reasons why I says to Joe, like, I'm just a humble guy, and like I just do it for fun. You know, it's great, and it's just brilliant how people like yourself interact, and then because of that, you know, we're here chatting, and it's absolutely amazing. And I want to do more of this as well. You know, more. I want to do to be able to do this live, and then probably it'd be nice to bring Jimbo in as well, and get him chatting, and then we can have some comments, and then everybody can get involved as well, and we throw some comments up on the side, and we can have a laugh and a chat. And it's special because, you know, you're over in Canada, and you know, so we've got this sort of like Pubshed love with this huge sort of like distance, which is great.
Well,
did you get the Pubshed sound?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, did you get the Pubshed sound that I put up?
No, I did not. I didn't hear it yet. So.
Did you?
No.
Oh, I don't think anybody's going to get that. I don't think. I mean, it's easy for me because I know what it is, but yeah, I don't think anybody's going to get that. So, shall we crack it? Have you still got your that?
Sure, I'm ready for the main event.
Right. Okay. So, go on.
I was just going to say, I prepared I got the proper glass for it. I don't know if you want me to show the glass to
let's have
reveal
a look.
What we have.
Let's have a look. Go on then. Way.
So there it is.
Good man. And
there it is. Beautiful.
So, by far, I mean, I know I've talked about beers, and like I say, if I ever turn around and say, "Oh, it's not for me," or I don't like, it's pure back. You know, like when I said about Bud I can't even say it now, Budweiser. Like, well, you know, the original's got no flavour. It's just pure sort of like banter and what have you. But for me, being a Guinness fan, I actually think, as far as non-alcoholic beers go, right the way across the board, for me, this is the best one, I think. And that's not just because I'm a Guinness fan. It's genuinely because I think it is the best one. What do you think?
I would say that. So I definitely didn't make a case for it today, but Partake is up there. But I would say, in terms of how they are compared to their original counterpart, Guinness for sure is number one, but it's also tied. So we have another one in Canada, which I think is, it just came out in the US, but Canada was the first market to get it. And I sent you a link about this, but it's actually marketed very differently in Canada than it is in the US, but it's called Corona Sunbrew, and it's Corona's beer. But in Canada, it's marketed as the world's first vitamin supplement beer. So it's no alcohol, and it gives you 30% of your daily dose of vitamin D in per bottle. But it's very, very close to regular Corona, and I'd say that the two are tied. So Corona Sunbrew and Guinness zero. Yours says 0.0 on the can. Ours says just 0.
Yeah, look at that, 0.0.
If you buy this, so this one is from, I believe. Yes, so this is a Canadian. I think in the US they call it 0.0 as well, but I might have just got the 0.0 from watching YouTube videos from the UK or something.
And yours has actually got on the front of the can. Has yours got non-alcoholic stouts on the front of the can? Did I see? Oh wow, yeah, non-alcoholic draft.
Yeah.
What's all the bump underneath it? Is that just telling you what
it just says contains less than 0.05% alcohol? That's a legal disclosure. They have to write that on Canadian products. And then on the other side, of course, we have the same thing, but in French. In Canada, everything has to be in both languages if it's marketed. So you'll see in English. Although where we live, there's not many French speakers whatsoever. I just cracked mine. I don't know if you can hear that. But we have the Nitro Surge widget.
I'm just thinking about how to pour this. I'm literally going to go for a dump.
Okay, you go for the dump, and I'll do.
We're back in a minute.
The angle, and we'll compare.
That sounded really wrong. Right, lot of smoke off that there. Right, so I'm just going to chuck this in. Now I think where Guinness. Oh my God, you're making me look a bit bad now. Look at that pour. That you have poured that absolutely amazing. You've not got a single bubble in that head at the top. That looks like
absolutely perfect.
Oh, you see, now I'm supposed to be a Guinness area. You know what I mean? I'm like, I should have paid a little bit more attention to that. I just dumped it in. Yeah, mine's great now. Bubbles going, everything's fine, all good here.
So I will not be rude this time, and I'll actually say cheers.
Cheers. Now, do you know, before you actually drink that, have you got the proper sized Guinness glass for the can?
Yes.
That you, oh my word. Now that looks, I've got to give you a high five for that. That looks amazing, because I have not got the proper size glass for the can, and I've got a gap look, and mine looks shocking compared to yours.
Well,
Look
this
at
glass,
that.
I have to say, it's from courtesy of my friend,
Beautiful.
from my Irish friend, Mr. Ryan Cooper. So,
Wow. Cheers to him.
That's from Mr. Ryan Cooper. And then I got my Guinness bar mat and coasters from my friend from Ireland, Laura Carlin. So thanks to Ryan and Laura for getting us all set up with the Guinness here.
Well, you know, before we launch this, let's just take a moment to say that this is the non-alcoholic Guinness, and straight away that pint that you're holding, I'm not going to say about this, but straight away that pint you're holding, filled to the top, we're looking like you could get a dome on it and everything, looks like a proper pint of Guinness, doesn't it? So there we've had the experience of the pour, which is part of the beer drinking, isn't it? The experience, and it looks good, and it smells good. It actually smells like a Guinness, doesn't it?
Like a Guinness.
Let's launch it. Cheers.
Cheers. Right. Nearly indistinguishable.
It is good, isn't it?
Yeah. So this one, it came out in Canada back in, I think, November, possibly October. It was out in the US prior to, so the US has had it for quite a bit longer. But the demand before Christmas for Guinness Zero was unbelievable. You couldn't find it anywhere. It was so difficult to get your hands on it. Everybody was just going crazy for it over here.
Yeah, yeah. It is that. I mean, straight away, just having a drink of that. When I drank that, awful, really. You know, and I'm sorry to these guys, but they're not on their own. There's loads and loads of breweries trying to brew non-alcoholic beer, and even the German brews. You know, I've been watching Rate My Beers. There a few of their sort of videos and things, and they've been doing a lot of non-alcoholic beers. And there's the German Dinger, which is an isotonic drink, and I've actually had it myself. It's pretty awful, really. And so to do a non-alcoholic beer seems to be very, very, very difficult. But
that's a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. And people do it in different ways. I don't really know how they do it. For me, I thought they must just like heat it up, so just burn off the alcohol. But there's a lot more involved in it than that. Do you know anything about how it's done?
I'm not sure. No, I'm not too sure how it's done. I know like they can do de-alcoholized, or they can, you know, brew it so that the alcohol doesn't come up. But I don't know like technically how that is. Not too sure about that, but I don't know how Guinness has done this. It's really, I mean, Guinness is very unique anyways, compared to, well, at least compared to typical beers that I would drink. But actually, Spenno, I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Since, I mean, we're at the main event right now, I don't want to create a lull unless you are okay to take over and speak, but maybe it's a good time to have another special guest, and we can actually introduce Frank.
Yeah.
Of Frank's, so maybe I don't know if you want to send me backstage temporarily, and I can go and grab Frank.
Yeah, okay, I shall do that. You'll have to like wave at me because I won't be able to hear you. So when you get in, give me a wave.
Okay.
See you, mate. So Jess is going off to get the actual main man, because it is Frank's Jailhouse Pubshed. And to be honest with you, it wasn't until sort of like I heard Jesse speaking and he mentioned his name that I realised that he wasn't Frank. So to chat with him tonight has been really strange, because I keep my head to start off with is calling him Frank. So but Frank is actually his dog, and we'll speak to. We won't speak to the dog, obviously, because dogs can't speak. Well, some dogs can speak. I've seen them in films, but I don't think Frank can. But when they come back, we'll speak through Jess to Frank, and we'll find out why it was named after the dog. Really, I suppose it's because the shed might have been his place where he resided when he was out in the garden. I don't know, but we'll leave that for Jess to tell us. But back to the Guinness. Yeah, for me, big Guinness fan, and I need to probably have a word with Steve Gilsonan about this to ask him how they actually do this, because you can tell it's not the real thing. You can, but it is so good. That's the thing. I've not got no shtick on this glass. This glass has probably not been washed properly. But it's got a slight less mouthfeel to it, really. Slight less in the creaminess, only a bit. But it has got them flavours that you get from Guinness. And you tend to find with the real Guinness that when it's ice cold, you lose a lot of them roasted flavours anyway. And I tend to have the Guinness a bit warmer. So this is one for having. Have this as like the Guinness cold. And yeah, this is my go-to drink. If I'm driving anywhere and I've got to go somewhere, I will always take some Guinness Zero. And I'm not disappointed that I'm not drinking. If I was to take this, then I would be disappointed drinking that, but certainly not with this Guinness Zero. So anyway, Frank has just made an appearance, so we're going to bring in the actual owner of the Pubshed. It's Frank, the dog. Hey!
Here he is.
Hey, Frank.
This is Frank. Oh, Frank gets a little wild sometimes, so he's difficult to control. But he is here.
Hello, mate. How are you?
So Frank is. Well, maybe I'll put Frank down because he's a little uncomfortable. But it's a perfect time to bring Frank in because actually Frank's a Wheaten Terrier. So
he's a what terrier?
A Wheaten Terrier.
Oh right, yeah. Sorry.
And Wheaten Terriers from Ireland, so it's an Irish breed. And
I know nothing about dogs. Let me just say that now.
Okay.
An education for me.
So just like the Guinness, he's from Ireland, so perfect time to bring in Frank.
Absolutely. So cheers to Frank, and cheers to Guinness. So why Frank's Jailhouse Pubshed? Was it his shed before you turn it into a pub shed?
No. So you know what? Actually, so Frank is named after my uncle Frank, and so the dog's actually Frankie. My uncle Frank. Unfortunately he passed away right as the pandemic was starting, and so the pub shed's actually named after my uncle Frank, who had passed away, and so was Frank the dog. And we were getting this dog, and as it turned out, we had been in communication with the breeder. And the day of my uncle's funeral was the day that Frankie was born, which is like just unbelievable.
Real.
So we have a picture of Uncle Frank on the wall. We have a picture of Frankie on the wall, and that's what Frank's Jailhouse is from. And I mean, my Uncle Frank was always the life of the party, and just the best uncle a person could ever ask for. And so it's kind of a dedication to both of them.
Oh, wicked. Well, here's to Uncle Frank.
Uncle Frank also said something. He would always say, so actually Uncle Frank wouldn't drink, but he'd always sing, in heaven there's no beer, that's why we drink it here. So
brilliant. That's fantastic. In heaven there's no beer, so that's why we drink it here, Frankie. Cheers.
So
that's really good. So right. So that has been a dry January international chat with, to be quite fair, a lot of information and knowledge from yourself about all your beers over there and everything. It's really been really interesting to hear, like, all about the taxation and all that sort of the government bottle shops, so to speak, rather than just our little independent bottle shops here. So do you get like all the do you manage to get the German beers like for Oktoberfest and things like that?
We do have. I'd have to say, that especially over the years, there's a great variety of beers that we do have here. And I mean, other things, if we can't get it, generally we can just top across the border, get it, and it's much cheaper actually. We buy a beer in the U.S., it's less than half the price going over there to buy it and bring it back. So typically we do that. But yeah, we get all of the different brands from around the world. And I mean, it's not even just like the rules around the sale of alcohol, but also consumption. So, I mean, in anywhere in Europe, like any normal place, you can just go to a park and have a beer. It's not a big deal. Here, no alcohol in public, or you have to get licenses for certain, like to consume alcohol in certain places. It's a bit over the top. And I find that, for example, if I were to compare, so my dad growing up in Prague, he said when he's in school, you go for lunch, you go to the deli, you get a sandwich and a beer. And it's not like you said, like not drinking to get drunk, but like if he didn't finish his beer, he just pours the rest of it out and goes back to class, right? That's a normal thing where people aren't just going to get drunk. It's not just a sport, but I feel like because the drinking age is higher, everything is so strict that once people can drink, it's just a crazy party where like they haven't normalized the use of alcohol. It's just not like, maybe, so it's a lot different that way. And like you can't just go to the park and have a beer. Like it's just really odd.
So what you say about the age then? What's the age of consent to drink there?
So where we are, so we're in Ontario, and so it's 19. I believe in Quebec, so that's like French-speaking Canada. I believe it's 18 there. So oftentimes, when people are 18 in Ontario, they'll go to Montreal for the weekend to go drinking because they can do it legally there. But also in the U.S., it's 21. So we got a lot of Americans coming over here who turn 19, and because they can't drink till they're 21, they come across the border and they come here to party. And also the other thing was that cannabis was legalized here before the U.S. I mean, depends where you are in the U.S. So when cannabis was legalized here, you'd have a lot of Americans coming here for that as well. They couldn't bring it back, but there was a lot of like cannabis tours. But now in New York State, it's legal as well. So you don't see as much of like the tourist aspect of it. But and that's the other alternative. There's cannabis drinks are becoming very, very popular. So there's sugar-free cannabis seltzers or cannabis beers. They can't mix alcohol legally with cannabis products, but they'll have like a beer-like cannabis drink that they'll sell. So that's something that's really growing here as well.
Well, it's renowned to be good, isn't it? It is. There's so much good comes out of the cannabis oil, the oil extract, isn't there? That's I mean, it's only, let's face it, it's a plant like a hop. We extract the oils out the hops, so extract the oils out the cannabis plant and benefit from it. I went through a stage of having cannabis oil to try and just help with like this shoulder sort of little shoulder pain that I have. And I think it was helping, and also probably just to try and just chill a little bit, you know what I mean, when I had that sort of like racing mind. And I found it did help. I was having the drops, but then I thought, oh, you beauty, it's costing quite a lot to get the good stuff, if you know what I mean, from a proper place. It does cost quite a little bit of money, and the beer was suffering. So I thought I'll put my money into the beer instead. so that had to stop. But no, there's just so much good out of it. But also as well, like with the drinking side of things, when I just remember my daughter. I mean, I've got to be careful what I say here, but I'd always give her a little taste of beer and a little, a little taste of this, a little taste of that, and even with my grandson, I like to get him. He said, "Can I have a Guinness? Can I have a Guinness?" And I'll get the froth, and it'll go like on him and let him have a little sip or whatever. My grandson's actually 22. If anybody is listening, no, he's 3.5. I'm not worried about what I'm saying about that. And but it's just like getting the froth on his lips and things like that. But my daughter, through letting her try a couple of little sips when she was a kid, and then when she was 16, you have her around the dinner table, and you let her have a little tipple here and a little tipple there. She doesn't drink now. She doesn't really bother with having the drink. Now, that's probably because I've allowed her to have a little bit throughout her life. And so she's not suddenly got to that 18 and go, boo, I want to start drinking, you know. So sometimes restricting people to something that, if you have a very little amount, is not going to cause you any harm, can have adverse effects, really, you know. Like with me, I started drinking when I could, and I haven't stopped since.
Yeah, I didn't drink. I just didn't care to. I mean, I didn't drink until, gosh, maybe I was like 21, and then, I mean, so Port Dalhousie is kind of a beachside, so we're on the shores of Lake Ontario, and there's a beach here. So actually, are you a fan of the band Rush?
Well, I do know Rush. Yeah. You mentioned the drummer or something's close.
Yes, and the song. There. Are you familiar with the song Lakeside Park?
Lakeside Park. Yeah.
So Lakeside Park is Port Dalhousie. So that's the park where we have the beach and everything. So, I mean, we had amazing beach bars and everything. It was quite the party scene here. Yeah. So it was an amazing place. I mean, it still is. It's different now. There's more restaurants than nightclubs and bars. But I mean, it's not what you would think of when you think of Canada in the summer. I mean, it was just like the beach and hot weather and beach bars, right?
Yeah.
Which is not the stereotype of what you'd think of here. But yeah, like I just never was interested before, and then now going through this, I found that I feel incredible not drinking. But I do, miss beer. So like I said, if I go for chicken wings and pizza, I love to have a beer. And maybe now, I wouldn't have just the random beer on its own going forward, but it'd be more of like with food, or I guess I'd think of it a little bit differently after going through this, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure whether I've already said this, but it might have been on the non-recorded bit that we chatted before. I never ever do I go out to get drunk, so to speak. I don't say, right, I'm going out tonight and I'm going to get drunk. That's my whole purpose of going out, to get drunk. No, I don't. I never do that. I'm going out to spend some time with Jane, spend some time with friends. We'll go out. We'll go to the Tap and Barrel, which is our local pub, to go and see people. We know that when we walk in there, we're going to have a lot of people in there we know. And I don't go out to purposely get drunk. But then you tend to have a few beers. They have some nice strong beers, lovely flavors, some beers in there. And then before you know it, and then the next thing we're going, oh, we're going for a couple. And then it's sort of 11 o'clock and we're like, oh, we should go. Oh, should we have one more? We'll just have one more. And then, you're staggering home sort of like a bit worse for wear. But the intention is never to go out to get drunk. I mean, if I'm going out on an all-day session in our hometown, Leicester, I'll tend to drink Guinness. So before the football, say, we'd sometimes go out for a good session before the football, and I'd always drink Guinness because I know that it's not going to destroy me, if you know what I mean. Whereas if I start going and drinking sort of 8%, I mean, double IPAs or something like that, then two of them and I'm going to be slurring. So, but it's a funny thing, drink for me is not a necessity. It's not anything. When I stopped drinking for dry January, for my cut down, I didn't start having the shakes or anything like that, thinking, oh, I miss beer. Because even Janie says to me, let's forget about it and let's have a drink. On the Friday, I went, actually, no, I'm not going to. I'm not really that fussed. I'd rather wait till Saturday and I'll come and do a beer review, a Yinger double bock that I did. So yeah, it's not a necessity. It's an enjoyment. You know what I mean? It's like going out for food. It's an enjoyment, or going out for a walk or cycle ride or something like that. So beer is, for me, it's an enjoyment, even though I am a functioning alcoholic.
Although the food can be. I mean, to me, so the food can. I think, like you just mentioned it, I think people look at the food as being harmless, but like I have the opposite. If I drive by, like I have no issue with not drinking, but if I drive by a McDonald's now, like I crave it. I want the bad food. That's an addiction. Like you know, you talked about when you didn't drink, you didn't have the shakes, but when I stopped with sugar, I stopped having, you know, chocolate and all these things. Like 2 weeks, I had headaches and I felt
Really?
absolutely horrible. And it's just pure addiction to sugar and all of this food. I mean, it's amazing. It tastes amazing, but it's so bad for you, and you just don't realize it. But it's that's an addiction as well. Like, and I would say
Yeah.
that I really struggle with that. Like even today, I mean, it's been a while, but I crave it all the time.
I mean, McDonald's for me is something I rarely eat. I love it. Don't get me wrong. You know, going out for a Big Mac. I'd go out for a few beers, and then I'd end up, because I do the eating is cheating bit. Because I always think if I eat before I go out, which I should do, then I can't drink as much. I'd be full, you know. But then what I do is I go out on an empty stomach, 5 or 6 pints, 7 pints, and then I'll be walking past McDonald's and going in and having a Big Mac meal and the Big Mac, and then I go back and get like the chicken select or something. And before I know it, I've ate 4,000 calories of McDonald's food that I don't even remember eating. But if I actually do have a McDonald's when I'm sober, if you like, it's all right. I enjoy it, but it doesn't sit well with me, if you know what I mean. I get like full and all that. But yeah, so I tend to not do McDonald's really. I don't really do. The only fast food I suppose I do is I like good old fish and chips, a curry. I like a nice curry. I'm actually going out for a curry tomorrow night. So yeah, that's pizza. Love pizza. But yeah, that's about the fast food for me really. But yeah, I'm terrible with bread toast. I love toast, you know. So I have to leave that alone. Otherwise, like 6 rounds of blimmin' toast after I've had the beers and things. But yeah, it's a funny old thing, isn't it? Like anything that's good for you, anything that's bad for you seems to be quite addictive, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, mate, I think we're at an hour and 31 minutes
Wow.
now, and that is flew, but it's actually longer than that. It's actually more like 2 hours.
yeah, quite a bit longer.
Because like I've said, if you've actually lasted all the way to the end here, which I hope you have, because you know, even if like, you know, you can fast forward a little bit, so you can play it twice as fast. So we could be talking like this. Have you ever done that? If you watch like an instructional YouTube video, you know, if you want to find out how to do something, YouTube's generally the way to go, and you can play it at twice the speed, so you can still understand what the person is telling you, but they're just speaking like the chipmunks.
Well, you know, so I learned a lot of British slang and everything because I watched so many boxing videos on YouTube, like interviews of boxers, trainers, promoters from the UK. Because, like I said, the boxing scene in the UK is just fantastic. It's amazing. And so there's one American promoter, Bob Arum. He's in his 90s now. He's in his 90s, but he's still so sharp and brilliant, but he talks so slow. And I saw in the comments someone said, just change it to 2 times the speed, and Bob sounds like he's speaking at normal pace. And it's true. It's like I listen to these interviews now with Bob Arum, and it's just the perfect speed. Where it's like, you know, I've turned back the clock 20 years on Bob just by changing the speed on YouTube.
That's really weird. So someone that's talking really slow sounds actually more natural talking at twice the speed on YouTube. That is absolutely magnificent.
But if it's someone that's a little older, you turn the speed up, and boy, you turn the clock back on them. Beautiful.
It's even when you send WhatsApp messages. Like I've sent WhatsApp voice messages to Jane, and she sent it to me. And sometimes if you can play them at twice the speed, and it makes you laugh, doesn't it? And anything that makes you laugh or makes you smile is a good thing. And I've got to say, speaking to you tonight has put a massive smile on my face. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I really have. And this ain't going to be the last time. You know, we'll think of something else to chat about, and then we can come back on here and talk it through. And then and also like we've done the non-alcoholic beer sort of chat, but then we've just rabbled into just a general easy speaking to one another chats, which I've really, really enjoyed, mate.
Well, I really enjoyed it as well, and I have something to propose then, because I was thinking if I could drink some proper beers once, once I get past this, which I'm hoping is by the end of this month. Once I get past that, we'll have a couple of proper beers, and you can teach me a little bit. We could talk about guitars. So I'm a big fan. I play guitar a little bit. Probably nowhere near as experienced as and talented as you, but we can talk about guitars and music and some actual beers.
You've not heard me play the guitar.
You haven't heard me either. Believe me, it's nothing too pretty.
It's a funny thing, right? Because so we sort of said now, like, we're at an hour and 30 odd minutes, so we'll sort of come to an end. But now we've gone a little bit further in. But now this tattoo that I've had on here was years in the making. So I've wrote my own songs and things, and years ago I did a charity gig for Loros. You must be familiar. Are you familiar with Loros? It's sort of like it cares for sort of terminally ill people with cancer and things, and it's a really fantastic charity. And they cared for a loved one for us. So I decided to do a charity gig to give something back. And I wrote a song called Smile. And basically what I did is I put on Facebook, so I'm doing this charity gig. I'm going to write this song. I want you all to just give me one line, something that means something to you. It can be anything you want. Excuse me, I got 23 people give me just a line. And I wrote it all down and everything. I put it all together. And I wrote this song called Smile. And then from that, I started writing other songs and doing bits and bobs, and I really, really loved it. And I said, I really want a tattoo of my guitar on my arm from when I couldn't write music, when I was trying so hard to write music. And I was like, I turned the guitar upside down, I just want the music to come out of this blimmin' guitar. So this on my arm, it's got my grandson's name, Marshall. And then all the notes are falling down my arm. And then these are the lyrics to my songs all over my arm. And it was something that I really wanted to have done, but I never had the bottle to do it. I had a fear of needles. I ended up giving blood because my mum needed some blood. So I thought, I'll need to give some back. So I've got to go and give blood, face my fear of needles. So then I had that. And I thought, as soon as I've had that done, I'm going to write some more songs. And I've got loads and loads of lyrics, but I've not wrote any more songs since. Because I've put my heart and soul into the Pubshed community, the YouTube channel, and all that. But now you've just said that, we'll have to get the guitar out and have a chat and talk about guitars and things. That one might be the kickstart for me to, pick it back up and write a song. But I'm not waffling on. I'm not all that knowledgeable when it comes to music. Believe it or not, I love so much music, and my friends say to me, considering you're a musician, you know nothing about music. I'd be rubbish on Popmaster or 10 to the top, the pop quizzes and things. But I do know the music, and I know what I like, But that'll be fun. So you play guitar as well, then, do you? Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll do guitars, tattoos, and real beer.
Yeah. Yeah, because you got some tattoos as well, haven't you? I've noticed there.
Yes.
That's therapeutic as well, isn't it? Oh, there's nothing better than just, go on, do it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right. The Spenno waffle is waffling now, like, and I've not even had a beer. We've just had some.
So next time we're in for 3 to 4 hours. I'll bring a lunch.
Yeah, okay, then we'll have a nice healthy lunch. It'll have to be salad or something, no McDonald's or chicken wings or anything like that. Well, anyway, Jesse, honestly, I've thoroughly enjoyed that. I've been sat down the bar, you've been sat at your bar, we've been having some non-alcoholic beers, but we didn't need the alcohol to have a good time, did we?
Sure.
So so for anybody out there that's doing dry January for your own choice, well done, that's good. But just remember as well that, listen to what Jesse says. Sometimes it's not a choice, and be careful of that condition that probably a lot of us don't realize we may have a little bit of that, So that's spreading a bit of awareness, mate. So, really appreciate that, and I'll look forward to you having a a beer with me, and I've just popped that up. Thank you all very much for watching. Happy New Year. Take care, Jesse.
Happy New Year.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
All right. Yes.
Right. So that was going to end, but I done that to Jimbo when I was talking to Jimbo, and I thought, because he's really savvy with all this sort of stuff, and I said to him, "How have you done them fireworks?" And he went, "I haven't. You've just done them." I went, "No, I ain't." He said, "You have." And I thought he was winding me up. And he says, all the way through the chat, I've seen thumbs up and bits and bobs come up. So when I've done that, it's almost like ignited them fireworks. That's really weird. Anyway, bless you, mate. You take care of yourself, and we will catch up soon.
I'm looking forward to it. See you then.
Much love, mate. Oh, look, there's a thumbs up. Look. See you, mate. Bye.